Welcome back to the Thewavnews, and we here right now to talk about, is the world on fire right now? Well, the whole world might not be on fire, but in these places, America's West Coast, that's California, Oregon, Washington, and cross seas in other countries like Indonesia, Turkey, Russia, and Lebanon, and even Italy, where there has been reported up to 800 fires this week. Now, these are not small fires. These fires are evacuating small towns and everything. There have been no reports on how any of these have started.
Yeah, and see, not they're not telling you how they got started or if how they even managing them. All they're saying is that they have to evacuate people because people are being displaced because these areas are on fire. A lot of these areas that are catching this fire, they're also experiencing famines and stuff as well, especially in those European countries. So it's an interesting thing when you already don't have food growing, and people kind of getting displaced with that, and now to be having a lot of these uncontrollable, unexplained fires to where people having to evacuate these towns. So it seems like that land is being cleansed, so to speak.
So to speak, as you said, it's just like as it's going, the signs of the times. But
That's right.
Marshall even mentioned like the famines, as you mentioned about these famines. So these are signs of the times that we should be looking for before Martial's return, keeping us true and keeping us faithful to him because he already warned us of these things, and we able to see it happening right now.
And that's right. Like those places that you name, you got to understand the fires are not limited to those places. Those places that you name, they just have some of the larger fires because every state, you can research this, look this up. Every state is having a large number of fires and stuff that are taking place. They have not grown big enough to where it's been an evacuation or pushing people out. But these are some things that are going on.
Facts, and we must keep this in mind also. As we said, we look forward to that coming of Mashiach.
That's right.
Although there have been no official reports on what has caused these fires, as mentioned earlier, we did come across a quote from a farmer in Greece where he said that this is a punishment. This is man's fault. And it seems as if this farmer, he is acknowledging that this is something of a punishment from something divine, because he said that this is man's fault. What man would be able to punish another man to this degree? As we can see that this is not just only happening in Greece, but this is also happening in other countries across the world.
No, definitely. And it sounds like that's exactly what he's speaking of. Because of man's actions, this is the punishment that they're getting. So whatever they've been sowing, this is they got them reaping fire at a very heavy degree based on what he shared, based on him being on the ground and what he's seen.
Exactly, being a citizen of that land, he's not going to make up something and say that this is not undeserved.
Yeah, because the degree that it's coming in at, it definitely has him knowing that this is something much higher than anyone who could go and just set a fire in one spot that it spreads.
These wildfires are not coincidences, as we can see before, even in scripture. You see that Yahuwah was able to make it rain fire and brimstone on one direct spot. So, being that these are happening in many different spots across the world, you see that this is not coincidental.
That's right, Akeem. And if anyone is even under that thought, we have to look at the definition of coincidence, and that would be unrelated events that take place. And these events all have something in common. These are large fires that are evacuating cities and burning up thousands of acres, and that they have no way of how they got started. So they actually have a lot that's in common, even with what you just mentioned has happened in a foretime.
Facts, Hakeem.
Yeah, go against the law. Disrespect the chief of no. Now run the 44. There you who a thon. There you who a thon. There you who a thon. There you who a
esteem to Yahuwah, man. Welcome to Facts Over Feelings. That's his facts over your feelings and mine.
If you have not heard from before, or if you have not been tuned in to the Way 613 recently, we had did a previous story on a teenager who was forced to eat pork by his coaches for missing a voluntary practice. You can check that out right now exclusively at theway613.com. But back to the story, there has been a new update to this story, and there has now been video evidence released of the situation. And when we check out the video of the situation, we can see that from the top, the player is set to be at the forefront of attention by his teammates, who have walked in with 45-pound weights to go ahead and begin their punishments, because the coaches feel like they had to force this young man to eat a whole pepperoni pizza for missing practice. So to encourage him to finish his pepperoni pizza, they said they were going to put the team through trials until he completed what they told him to do. But being the fact that this child is an Israelite, he does not partake in eating any type of pork. So he was forced to do something against his beliefs to satisfy some coaches for missing a day of practice. And you can see this in the video by him being forced the pepperoni pizza. He's pushing away the pizza and someone slides it back to him, encouraging him to eat it. And then later on in the video, even around the 9-minute mark of the video, you can see when his teammates approach him with a quarrel. As you can see, that's showing him that, hey man, I'm not trying to do these workouts, so man, you're going to have to do something. Showing that all these pressures were put on that young man to partake in this sport.
Yeah, and we can see it was definitely a high pressure situation. You had about 30 plus student athletes in the building, his teammates, and they, like you said, they had him front and center. And with him being an Israelite, we have things, we have laws, we have statutes, we have testimonies that we stand on that encourage us to always do the right thing. And I know for him, he may just had one of those blank moments because of the fiery situation he was put in, front and center. Your teammates are basically being tortured a bit because they're doing some involuntary workouts, and that's punishment work. That was punishment work for them. So I feel like that was something that was, man, they forced him pretty tough, and I really wish the young man would have did something different. But that's the situation that they put him in with, and getting his teammates upset around him.
Facts, like and I heard you say like the fiery situation.
Yeah.
So you'll compare that to, like, as the scriptures say, as a fiery furnace.
That's right.
Fiery furnace.
That's right.
Testing situation.
See, just to really see, what you're gonna do, and man, we're thankful, that this young man can actually, push forward, because anything could have happened at that moment. See, they end up thinking that they're punishing someone and taking something personal out on the child, but they don't know what could have happened. Life could have left out of that young man's body, but he's here, and that's just terrible. They thinking about a voluntary practice, meaning that you have the choice to come, but I guess because of the position that he had, they look at him as being in a leadership role on the team, and yeah, they really came down on his head.
Facts, okay.
Yeah.
And as this is not the first time that's been recorded that Israelites have been put under extreme persecution to partake in swine's flesh, a certain type of meat. This has happened before in other previous captivities also.
Definitely. And that testimony should be, enough to encourage someone to actually stand strong. Because we know doing the right thing and doing, what Yahuwah tell us to do, we'll always be covered and protected. But these are one of those situations you sending somebody to school, right, Aki? They're playing on the team and they're looking to excel in life, but you got to see that it's really all a hoax.
That's a fact, Aki.
And what I mean by a hoax is, you thinking that you're going to excel and get a better life if you participate in this particular program, and that's not the case. That whole situation is just is not real. All we need to be successful is to do what our power told us to do. He said this will give us good success, not someone telling you, hey, if you play this position on the team and you do what I tell you to do, then you go. Nah, that's not what it is. We definitely want to use those things, and we had an opportunity, but that stuff does not come first.
That's a fact. It does not come first. And also to even give more encouragement to not only the young brother but also others who face situations like these. Remember Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel and how they stood up against and then bowed down to whatever was commanded at that time. No matter what they were forced to be punished with, they didn't bow down to it.
That's
So
right.
let that motivate you to not give in to no type of pressure from these systems.
That's right, and you definitely could be covered exactly like those young brothers was, and they created that situation. They tried to create a fiery furnace for that young man. So hopefully that encourages him and other brothers and sisters to stand strong.
Facts, Haki. And when we come back from these quick commercial breaks, we're going to speak again on being pressured by systems into certain situations. We'll be right back.
All right, it's your friend again, Don Ken again. This is the Wave News, and we're back. In this story, we want to share with you guys. We did a previous write up on a similar story, but it seems like these things are starting to trend. And this is a vaccine funeral where people are attending a funeral, but they're using it to bring awareness to the coronavirus and encourage people to get vaccinated. Now, many times you'll hear people say, do your own research, and before you make that decision. But what the research is showing is that these things are not working, these vaccines are not working. But people are starting to get this trend going, as I mentioned, where they're having funerals of people who pass away from not getting a vaccine, and they're encouraging others to get the vaccine. Now, Aki, what do you think about that?
That right there just sounds manipulative. It sounds like you're just trying to use the fear or something to force something on somebody. It just sounds like manipulation to me, Aki.
It definitely is manipulation at its finest when you can wait for someone to be at an emotional state because they lost someone that they care about, or that they known, and when you see that person has lost their life and they're telling you it's because they didn't get vaccinated, like you said, that inserts the fear of death.
To learn how to think and how to look at life through a kingdom perspective, a biblical kingdom worldview. And so I want us to process and address an issue that is hot for everybody. That's this whole thing about the vaccine and the shot and should we take it, should we not take it? But I want us to look at it from a principle out of the very word of God as we wrestle with this whole issue about this vaccine. It's found, first of all, come with me to Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. I want us to examine, wrestle with, look at this whole issue that's very practical, very personal, but I want us to look at it from a kingdom perspective, a biblical perspective. Here's what the Bible says. In Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7, it says this: wisdom is the principal thing, the primary thing. We want to function out of wisdom that God gives. Therefore, get wisdom. Wisdom is the main thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And in all you're getting, get understanding. That's where I want you to look at. Listen, we need wisdom, God gives us wisdom, but he gives us wisdom through understanding. In other words, let's get an understanding before we make a decision. We make a decision based on wisdom. We get wisdom through understanding. And so that's how I want to approach this whole issue of this vaccine, this shot. Okay. Now listen, the Bible also says this: God has not given us a spirit of fear. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. That mind, the mind that God has given us, wrestles with getting the truth, getting understanding, getting insight, getting information that leads to knowledge, knowledge that leads to wisdom. And so,
and they're using that to hold over people's heads and say, okay, get this vaccine and you will be covered. Not telling them to get right or to be obedient to the Most High. They're telling them to get a vaccine.
And that's gonna be their covering. Oh,
that's what they're saying. It's gonna be their covering. So, who should we believe? We shouldn't believe someone who's lied to us ever since we can even think of interacting with them or coming across their past. But that's what's happening right here. They're saying be covered, get this vaccine, and you'll be okay.
Fact. See, like as you said, like who should we believe? We should believe the one sent by the Most High, Mashiach, like as he said. Like
sure.
As we know that he came and he defeated death, so through him we don't have no fear of death, because he says that some of us won't even taste death.
That's right.
So it's just like the words you speak are life or death. If you speak
right.
the COVID-19, believe the COVID-19, you might eventually catch COVID-19. But to me, I'm like, what is COVID-19?
Right.
So that's like how I feel about it, because once you take on that belief, you're gonna be bondage to that thought. It's gonna eventually overtake you.
And that's a fact. I can't see Mashiach. He came to free us, to walk, like you said, walk this path, and this is the path of life. Actually, the path to everlasting life. And nothing on that path said anything about stopping and roll your sleeve up. You got entertainers out here talking about it is a roll your sleeve up movement. You have other entertainers out here that are making songs telling you to back that thing up. You have a lot of things that are going on that are encouraging people to go this route, and for them to ignore, you know what I'm saying, what the chief has already told us to do and what he has shown us to do.
Facts. As the chief said, broad is the way to destruction. So if everybody is trying to push you that way, they trying to lead you to destruction.
That's right.
So let's keep that in mind.
Yes. And we definitely want our people to pay attention and you know what I'm saying, keep an eye open for these things. Really, just take a step back. Don't be so quick to let these people tangle your emotions.
That's right, I can.